She-Hulk was Deadpool before Deadpool was Deadpool. Before Deadpool was ever Deadpool, there was She-Hulk, and she was more Deadpool than Before Deadpool, there was She-Hulk, and she was more Deadpool than Deadpool. Just watch the video, okay?
Hit it! There's this kid. He's in trouble.
Move or die.
Pump the hate brakes, Thanos.
Hey everybody, this is TJR. After a series of some of the funniest movie trailers ever, Deadpool 2, the movie, has come out this last weekend, and I was not able to get time to go see it in the theater, so I cannot review it. But in all honesty, I really don't think you need me to review it. I think all the reviews are pretty much telling us what we all felt this movie was going to add up to. It's apparently wildly funny, lots of great action, hysterically politically incorrect. And so instead, I thought I might shed a little bit of light on a lesser-known Marvel comic book character whom I suspect may have had just a little bit of influence on the current iteration of Deadpool as we now know the character. But first, a little history. Deadpool was originally created by Rob Liefeld and Fabian Nicieza. And if I've said that name incorrectly, my apologies. This was back in 1991. The character started as a villain before becoming more of an anti-hero, but his ability to break the fourth wall didn't come until sometime later. The character slowly evolved into the comical, fourth wall breaking character that we now know him to be, and as he's shown in these motion pictures now. But prior to Deadpool, there was another character in the Marvel comic book universe who broke down the fourth wall all the time and played it for laughs and satirized both popular culture and comic book tropes. And that character was She-Hulk. Now, She-Hulk was originally created by Stan Lee and John Buscema. Her origin, well, let me just sum it up real quick. Her real name is Jennifer Walters, and she gets a blood transfusion from her cousin who just happens to be... And that's basically all you need to know. Now, the character was created because the editorial staff at Marvel Comics was concerned that the producers and executives behind the Incredible Hulk TV show might introduce a female version of the character. So Marvel decided to publish their own version of such a character to make sure that if a similar one showed up in the TV series, Marvel would own the rights. Her first series premiered in 1980, and it was entitled The Savage She-Hulk. The book was considered standard comic book superhero fare of the time. There was nothing about it that really set it apart. There were no broad attempts at humor, and certainly no breaking down the fourth wall shenanigans. The original series only ran 25 issues, but it was enough to make her part of the Marvel comic book universe and to keep the network producing the Incredible Hulk TV show from doing a female version without having to pay Marvel for the rights. Then in 1989, the character got a second chance. She-Hulk got a second series, retitled The Sensational She Hulk. It was written and drawn by John Byrne, who at the time was most associated with the Fantastic Four. And this is where our plot thickens. John Byrne kept all her backstory from the original series, but completely changed the attitude of the book. Like Deadpool, John Byrne's version of the series satirized comic book tropes and popular culture, and made the character aware of the fact that she was a comic book character. I remember in the book's second issue, there was this story where she's fighting an alien menace. Now, before I proceed, I really wish I could show you examples of the artwork, but unfortunately I no longer own this book, and I scoured the internet for pictures of the book and couldn't find anything but the cover, so you'll just have to live with my description here. So she's fighting this alien menace, and then the story breaks away to somewhere else. When we return, her and the alien menace that she's fighting are all just sitting around, reading magazines, playing cards with each other, drinking coffee. They're basically all on a coffee break. That's the first panel. Then in the next panel, she looks up and notices us, the viewer, and says, "Oh, you're back." and her and the aliens begin fighting again. This sequence describes, I think, beautifully how well this book dealt with satirizing comic book tropes and cliches. In one issue, she even tore her way through the comic book pages themselves. The book also satirized non-comic book popular culture of the day, and at times even challenged and tested the limits of the Comics Code Authority. Issue number 34 did both by satirizing both the 1991 Vanity Fair cover, in which actress Demi Moore appeared nude and pregnant, and tested the Comics Code Authority in the process. In case you're wondering what the Comics Code Authority is or was, it was once a form of censorship that the comic book industry imposed on itself. As to why they did that, that's a whole nother video. In the present day, more and more women and young girls are getting into superhero comics than ever before, and I'm really glad to see this. However, back at the time this series was being published, I'm sorry to have to say that comic book superheroes was mostly a boys' club. And John Byrne, of course, was aware of this, and he laid on the cheesecake very thick in this series. But cheesecake in comic books has been a trope since the golden age of comic books, and it's ripe for satire, and John Byrne did satirize it quite a lot. Is it really sexist to have cheesecake in your book when you're satirizing it at the same time? I don't know. I think it's an interesting topic, but I don't want to divert the topic of this video right now. Perhaps I'll discuss that at a later time. Let's get back to She-Hulk. The book only lasted until issue number 60, which was longer than the original series, and made it, at the time, the longest-running solo title of any Marvel superheroine up to that point. It's kind of a shame that up till that point, that was the longest any female superhero-led book had ever run. Once again, it's the time period, the 80s and 90s of superhero comics. It was primarily a boys' club. I've never read the original She-Hulk series, but everything I've read about it says the character was serious and hot-tempered. John Byrne's version of She-Hulk was fun-loving, vivacious, very, very impulsive, but in a fun way, and was imbued with a very endearing sense of confidence. Of course, you'd be really confident, too, if you were, like, super strong and knew that nobody could kick your ass, except maybe Thanos, of course. And even then, who knows? As I look back on this particular series, it's obvious that writer-artist John Byrne was having a lot of fun creating it, and it shows when you read it. It wasn't too long after that time period that I got out of reading comics and didn't read them for many, many years. I've never read any of the She-Hulk books that might have been printed since then, but looking at some of the covers today online while doing research for this particular video, it seems evident that there's still a good deal of sense of humor left intact. And this is why I feel that She-Hulk was Deadpool before Deadpool was Deadpool. Minus all the hardcore violence, of course. This is TJR. I want to thank you so much for watching. And if you like this video, please show your love back by clicking both the subscribe button, the like button, and always be sure to click notifications. That's the little bell icon so you can know when I release new videos. So what do you think? Did I miss anything? Are there any other characters within the Marvel comic book superhero universe who may have done this before She-Hulk? Be curious to read your comments. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, can I go see the movie now?